Good day, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about my awakening process and how it's affected my life. To start off, I wasn't in a good spot. I was addicted to things. Let me rewind a little bit there and say before this happened, I knew nothing about what I'm about to talk about. I was in a dark spot. I was addicted to drugs. I was a normal Joe. I was working a job. I didn't exactly know anything about spirituality. I didn't know anything about Kundalini. I didn't know anything about awakening. I didn't know anything about what I know now. Is suddenly I just knew things. But how it happened, I was being manipulated by five different people. I was a victim of amateur ritual people like cult members. They were dabbling in dark arts, and I was their puppet type of thing. I didn't know what they were doing exactly. They were playing certain songs over and over again. I didn't know why for or anything. Um, but suddenly, I'm just going to get to it. Suddenly, after a few months of this stuff going on, I was sitting on the edge of the bed and suddenly, just spontaneously, I rose up and I went, I filled with air. I got goosebumps all over my whole body. I started uncontrollably sobbing. And I looked at the guy in front of me and I gave him a hug. And I started saying, "We haven't seen you in a long time, brother. Where have you been? It's been forever." And this person was actually bragging about how he was waking people up in a different town and how they would all turn against him. And come to think about it now, if he was doing the same things to them as he was doing to me, I can understand why they would turn on him because it wasn't very pleasant. I woke up in the midst of darkness, and it wasn't the greatest experience, I could tell you that. But as time has progressed, I have transitioned from being in the dark to being in more of a light perspective of things, and my perception changed that instant. When I rose up, it felt like somebody had grabbed me by the back of the neck and pulled me out of my body. For my view was a straightforward first person view, and from up here looking down from a third person view. I seen the wall behind him. It was a white wall like the one behind me, but it had changed into an oil painting type pastel look of a sunset on a golden beach with white sand, and it was just be the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And to top it off, from that moment, everything changed. I was working in a haunted butcher shop. Shortly after this had happened, I was getting haunted by spirits that were dwelling in this butcher shop. And mind you, I was a cleaner, and I was spraying down the equipment that the butchers were using to cut up all the meat and to make chunks of certain cuts. And I would show up at work about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I would work until I was done. Well, sometimes it would be 2 o'clock in the morning, cleaning the whole place, washing all the clothes and all the towels and all the aprons. 160-degree water. scrubbing down things with soap. Well, I was in my second room and I was spraying down the equipment, and the whole room was filled with steam. I was in shorts and a t-shirt. I heard a door shut behind me. There wasn't supposed to be anybody there. It was 11 o'clock at night. So I stopped what I'm doing and I'm going to investigate what was going on. Why is this door shutting? Nothing there. I looked in the room. There was a spare freezer for swine or for pigs and all the frozen pigs that we had. Nothing there. I looked in the generator room. Nothing there. So I was like, huh, okay. I shrugged it off. Didn't think nothing of it. Went back to spraying down stuff, and 30 to 45 seconds later, I kid you not, I felt the cold press against my shoulders, so cold that above the 160-degree steam that was in the room, I shuddered. All of my hair stood up on end. The back of my neck stood up on end, and I felt the presence. But instantly, I was like, "You're not welcome here," because I was in a bad spot, and I was a little paranoid and freaking out that something was going to happen, and so I started chanting and saying, "You're not welcome here. Get out of here. What do you want?" And used in Jesus' name and everything. Back then, I was still a religious man. I didn't know the beyond steps of, to progress to the next level. So I'm freaking out. And as I'm warding off this shadow, I'm looking around and I see nothing. Of course, you can't see it because it's not in the same frequency. But I'm going by these double doors that were open so I could let the steam out of the room. And out of the corner of my eye, I seen this apparition. It was big, hulking, like 9-10 feet tall, had a 5-foot shoulder span, and it walked right into a freezer that was locked. And at that moment, I called the people back at the house. I told them, "You guys got to come help me close up. I can't do this. I just got haunted and touched by something." And they showed up. While they were getting there, I heard a woman and a daughter walking up and down the foyer, clicking their heels and giggling. When they showed up, they helped me clean up. I got things done because I wasn't alone. I was afraid to be alone at this moment. Mind you, it's the same people who were doing these things to me, which I didn't know exactly what was going on at the time. It wasn't until after this event things started really coming together and making sense. I figured out that these two were having an affair, and behind my back, one of them I was with at the time, and I'm thankful that that's not even a thing anymore. But as I was figuring things out, these two people tried to kill me or eliminate me. The dude had a hammer. He swung at my head, and it went right through me. I don't know how, but these quarters were really close. If anybody knows me from where I lived in these apartments, these were close quarters. You go in the front door, and the steps to go upstairs are literally right here. And there was a big screen TV, and there was 2 couches. So there was no way that there was enough room to swing something. Well, anyway, long story short, I knocked the hammer out of his hand. The girl came at me with a knife, and I bumped her with my hip, and I knocked the knife out of her hand, and I ran outside. From there, I escaped, and I went to a neighboring town where I was hysterical. It's like I just barely escaped with my life, regardless of how threatening or dangerous these two people were. I ran to this neighboring town, and I shouldn't have went to where I did, but it was the only other place that I knew of that I would maybe be safe. Well, I was hysterically freaking out, and 2 of these other people were asking me what was going on, and I told them the story of what was happening. Well, in order to attempt to calm me down, they offered me some ice water. I said I would love some ice water. They took them about 5 minutes to get this glass of ice water. And when they handed it to me, it wasn't ice water. It was something red. Hi, Shannon. Anyway, I fought for 30 minutes against these two people about this water situation. I was like, I didn't ask for juice. I wanted ice water. Come to find out, after much interrogation and harassment and threatening, these people stripped me down of everything, my hat, my jewelry, my money. At the time, I was an addict, and so they took everything that I had and made me try to drink this water. Well, I didn't drink the water, and one of the guys finally folded, and he said, F it, and he drank all but a little bit of the water left in the glass. It was about this big. Come to find out, it was a large amount of Seroquel, which is supposedly an antipsychotic or sleep medication. Well, these people were trying to make me go to bed or something, and it wasn't happening. I felt something was wrong. And so as I'm freaking out about that, I go out into the living room where the adults were, the normal adults, and I was explaining to them what had happened. And the whole process of what was going on. And at that moment, I was just calm enough to talk to everybody. The song Crazy Train came on the radio. You know, the song Crazy Train by Black Sabbath or Ozzy Osbourne. Well, that song came on the radio and it sparked a vision. And I was automatically sitting on this bench at the train station waiting for a train. Because mind you, I was feeling under the ground and the sound of the train. I could feel the vibrations of something. And when the song came on, it sparked a vision. I was sitting on the bench. The train rolled up. It kept going. But as it went by, I could see these people chained to the inside of these cars, and their chains were clanging against the sides of the walls, and I could hear them screaming out for help. And all the while, there's this big steel door banging against its frame. I seen the guard walking up and down the train cars, making sure everybody was in their spots. And at that moment, the conductor screamed out, "Everybody on board!" Right? And I woke up. I came to, and I was freaking out even more. And at this time, the person I was talking to was like, "Are you okay? Everything fine?" I was like, I was just somewhere else. Where was I? You've been here the whole time. They didn't know this hasn't ever happened to them. Well, they didn't know what was going on, and so I explained to them, and then I had this piece of cardboard about yay big that had a bunch of notes and stuff scribbled on it and drawings and all this other stuff. And when I came to, this was gone, and I asked what happened, and they said, well, we took that and we burned it. Like, why would you burn all my notes? You know, I had things about the triple goddess, the moon goddess, and like a chain of events that had happened in my life and people that I had allowed into my life that had spoiled me a little bit or soiled my soul. And it was all these events. And then I went to Spokane with some friends, which didn't turn out very, very great. And then on the way back, I had them drop me off at my sister's, and my sister, shout out to her, she kind of kept me from going back into the town that I was involved with all these people. And long story short, that was my complete process. And since then, like I said in the beginning of the video, I didn't know anything about what I know now. I was dumb. I was naive. I was ignorant to all that stuff. But all of a sudden, after this event, it was like after I had gotten to a positive environment that wasn't all negative and filled with darkness and drugs and all that crap, I began to connect with stuff that gave me goosebumps when I would talk about it. It was like, ooh, that was like an aha moment. You know what I'm saying? Those aha moments that give you synchronicities, and they spark certain cells to activate. And so with all this being done, my sister and I started to collaborate a little bit with each other. And a whole bunch of stuff. I started writing. I started writing poems and rhymes, and that's when I started to write in the format that I write now. And I'm a way better writer than I am a talker. So I mean, that's why I'm writing this book about all the things that I've connected to and figured out in my life, and why I do these interviews, why I want to reach out to other people that have had these kind of experiences. Yes, yes, Savvy. I'm glad we both got out of that. It wasn't safe. We're all good now, though. We're totally fine now. Um, Savvy's my niece. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. Um, as a witness, she can vouch for that, regardless of any substance. Like I said in an earlier interview with Cassidy Lightwing and Bradley Powers and Jim Andre and Floyd Hancock, I told them that everybody, every one of us has experimented with something. With me being 39 years old now, I have never experienced in anything that has given me that effect ever. No psychedelics or anything have ever given me that surge of energy that flowed through my body from the feet to the head and brought me up out of my seat and gave me this energizing feeling that, it changed my entire world. And yeah, I've been called crazy. I've been called psychotic. I've been, called many things, a demon, a devil spawn. My kids would be demon seeds and all this crap. And like, I didn't believe all that, but as it began, that's what I went through. And so I've rose myself with help with the person I'm with now. It was a hard process, but I'm progressing into a lighter side of life, looking at the more positive and finding information that correlates with each other, that gives me the incentive and the nudge forward, if you know what I'm saying. It's a very great experience. I wouldn't ever deny it to anybody. I wouldn't ever say it was because of this or because of that. It was actually something that opened my mind up to something further than the five senses, the five physical senses of sight, taste, touch, smell, and feel, you know. Um, Now there's a hindsight and a foresight that I can tap into. I can tap into the Akashic records. I don't channel anything, but I do tap. I use my mind as a tap, and I just pick up certain things, and then I research those certain things, and that's how I'm finding a lot of the things that I find out. It's just really weird. It's finding the synchronicities and how they relate to me, and then I share those things, which I shouldn't share all of them, but just to my feet are asleep. I can't even feel my right foot sitting cross-legged. Anyways, yeah, it's totally dead. Anyways, I'm gonna end this here in a second. I just wanted people to know a little bit about my experience and why I pursue doing what I'm doing with other people. And I want to encourage everyone to have no fear. Uh, have no fear of being judged or ridiculed. You must be fluid like in the mind to express yourself as a child would. You know, the child is so innocent and pure, they'll tell you anything. Hey, Dad, there's a monster in my room. You better believe them, because they are susceptible to those things more so than an adult who's been deprogrammed from innocence, so to speak, indoctrinated and told this isn't real and that isn't real. I've heard voices a couple times. They were not in my head. They were external voices. It was like clairaudience, I guess. I could hear what they were saying. Yeah, my foot's so hurting right now. Tingly. Thank you, Shannon. That's awesome. We appreciate you too. But I do have to make this quick. I have to run to an appointment. So without further ado, I'm glad you guys all tuned in and have some insight for me. But I'm totally being honest and truthful here. I wouldn't make any of this up. This really happened. I would like to get in touch with more of my fellow people, strangers, friends alike, and get their stories as well. I just want to assure everybody, don't be afraid. These things do happen. These things do exist. And it isn't something to just shove under the rug. Because the more you can talk about it, the more healing you can do. And as you heal, you will begin to feel better and lighter and more euphoric and blissful. It's just, I want to remain vibrating higher and not lower. So without further ado, namaste. Many be mores to all of you. And until next time, thanks for tuning in. Ciao.